Coming up in today's video. Sex. So lordy.
Yes, you've said that very calmly.
It's alright.
That's good. The fizzing's down the well.
So you could say things are getting a little spicy. Hello and welcome to the Scholar Progenium. Today we have a battle for you. No Man's Land. 5 objectives. It's going to be the Drukhari, Witch Cult, Cult of the Cursed Blade versus the Blood Angels. 5 objectives. Long table deployment. Secondaries for Drukhari are Take Them Alive, where Tim will get 1 point for each unit killed in melee and 3 if they're a vehicle or a character. Scramblers, which we all know and love, deploy Scramblers and engage on all fronts. The Blood Angels are going to try and secure No Man's Land, where they get incrementing points for holding the central objective. So 1 on the end of their first turn, 2 on the end of the second, so on and so forth. They've also gone for deploy Scramblers and, of course, Line Breaker. I'll take you through the army lists and then we'll be with you ready to deploy. Now this is the Blood Angels list. Now it's not a fully competitive list. I wouldn't take this to a national tournament, but it's certainly a proto-competitive list. There's a couple of units that are in this that are placeholders, just allowing me to achieve things on the battlefield in an effective way during games whilst I build and paint the units that I'm going to be adding later on. Now starting off the list we have the HQs. I've got Mephiston. He's not the Warlord. He is bringing 3 psychic powers, of course. He's bringing the Quickening. He's bringing Wings of Sanguinius, and he's bringing the, I can't remember what it's called, but the shield, psychic shield version. Then we have a Smash Captain with the Hammer of Baal. He also has the Gift of Foresight as his Warlord trait. He's got a Storm Shield and a Jetpack. He is not Death Company. We then have a Chaplain, just a standard Chaplain with a Storm Bolter and a Jetpack. In terms of troops, we've got probably a few more troops than is necessary, but certainly enough troops to have some control on the board here. We've got 3 units of bare bones intercessors and 2 units of assault intercessors, and I've been finding the assault intercessors doing some work, taking enemies by surprise. They cause the enemy to miscalculate the damage output when they're deciding whether to get involved with them, because of Honor the Chapter now being intercessor, assault intercessor exclusive. You can pay your CP and these guys can actually get a second round of fighting, and it can be really effective even with only a few models. Then moving on to the elites. Now starting off we have 8 Death Company with 2 Thunderhammers and 2 Power Swords. And I'm probably going to jig the loadout for this unit around, but for now I thought this gives me good options to attack a variety of different things, and we can take it from there. I'm going to be dropping this unit entirely, sadly, when I take this army list to a tournament, and replacing them with some Sanguinary Guard. And with that in mind, here is my 9-man unit of Sanguinary Guard, and they have 3 Carmine Axes, 6 Carmine Swords, and of course Angelus bolt guns on their wrists. Very nice unit, you know, say no more. The Sanguinary Guard are awesome. Then I've got 5 Relic Terminators. These guys are probably going to be replaced by the Sword and Shield dudes. I've forgotten what their name is just at this very moment, but really useful unit. Now I've paid a CP for the Sergeant to have Quake Bolts, so these guys can have +1 to hit if he gets his shot off when they get into melee with those Power Fists, and just makes them really, really effective. They don't obviously suffer as much from having Power Fists with that ability, and really useful for dropping down. They can plant teleport homers, they can do whatever you need to do, loads and loads of actions they can take, fire support they can do, they can take care of themselves, they can work independently, and they can punch things with their fists. What more could you ask for? Probably a little overpriced for what they do, but you know, good as for now, so to speak. Then we've got 5 Vanguard Veterans. Now I have to apologise. I need to. I've got another squad of these that are currently just being slightly upgraded. So these guys do count as having 3 Storm Shields and the Sergeant having a Lightning Claw. But apart from that, 5 Vanguard, and the rest have chainswords and bolt pistols, of course. Not an expensive unit, but one you can drop down, and may actually just trim this down to a 5-man squad of Assault Marines with jetpacks, which I know seems crazy, but just to drop down, deploy a Scrambler, score me points for a secondary, and then I don't need to worry about them anymore. So that's something I'm considering with this unit. Then we have, of course, 3 Cheesy Melter guys. These guys are absolutely amazing, really, really useful, and I want another unit of these. My competitive list is ultimately going to have 2 squads of 3. Then we have Outriders. 3 Outriders. These guys do work. They can move fast. They can act as an effective cover for jetpack characters as they move up into position. They're really tough. They've got crazy fire output and crazy combat output, and they really nicely round out the list. These guys are here to stay. I love them. And that's the Blood Angels list. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple and effective. It's not in its perfect form just yet, but I'm happy with the way it operates in the battles that it's fought in so far, taking it to this point. So we'll move on to the Drukhari now. Now the Drukhari are 3 platoons, which means it gets 14 command points at the start of the game, which is absolutely brilliant. And all of those platoons are Cursed Blade. Now I'm not going to describe the army list platoon by platoon, but instead I'm just going to describe what unit combinations I have in sort of slot order. So first of all, we've got the HQ. Now we've got Drozar. He is obviously an absolute machine, and he is going to be very interesting in this battle because obviously he's one of the few characters out there who can go toe to toe with Blood Angels characters. So it'll be really interesting to hopefully get him into some duels. We then have a a Succubus with the Helm of Spite on the left and a glaive. Just simple, cheap, straightforward, and obviously really useful against Blood Angels because they love their psychic powers. Then we have on the right the Warlord, and she is I want to say Blood Dancer, the upgraded Warlord version of a Succubus, and she has the Triptych Whip. She's not a Blood Dancer, but she has precision blows, so she's kicking out loads of attacks. She's doing mortal wounds on 6s for 2 damage a pop. Really, really meaty, really good. Now we have 25 witches. That's 3 squads of 5 and 1 squad of 10 that have been upgraded to Blood Brides. Now all of them just have Hecatari blades. The leaders, the Hecatrixes, all have blast pistols. And because these guys are Cursed Blade, they come at strength 4, so I've given them all the +1 attack combat drug. And that makes these guys absolutely lethal, even in a squad of 5. Because a standard witch gets 3 attacks based on their profile, +1 for the Hecatari blades, +1 for the combat drug, makes 26 strength 4, AP -1 attacks when these guys charge in a squad of 5. Obviously they can get rerolls from a Succubus if she's nearby, but they really don't need her, and because of Flensing Fury they go up to AP -2 on 6s to wound. These guys, they'll chop through anything. Lethal. Then moving forward we have in fact 3 squads of 9 jet bikes. Each jet bike squad has 3 heat lances in it and 3 grav talons. Now Grav Talon's got an interesting boost. You roll for each Grav Talon when you charge. It's in the charge phase, so it doesn't count as damage in the assault phase, but in the charge phase you do it, and on a 4-up it does a mortal wound, but now Grav Talons do D3 mortal wounds on a 6, which makes them so effective for charging. If you multi-charge a unit and a character, you can often kill off the character with 3 Grav Talons, or do some serious work against him and then focus the attacks on the squad. So absolutely lethal, really effective squad. And then rounding out the list, we simply have 4 Clawed Fiends. These guys do work. They're more toughness 5 in the list, so the whole list on the board deployed is minimum toughness 5 to toughness 6, depending on the raiders. All the bikes are toughness 5 because they've got the +1 toughness combat drug. And because they're Cursed Blade, they're strength 5. So they're strength 5, toughness 5, AP -1. These guys are strength 5. These guys are toughness 5. These guys have 4 wounds each. And they also put out 5 attacks each. And if one is injured, it puts out a 6th attack. The Beastmaster, he's an elite slot. He's separate to these guys. But what the Beastmaster does is he gives reroll 1 if he's within 6 inches when they're in combat. And he also allows them to advance and charge if he's within 6 inches when they declare their charge. And because he's got that hoverboard, he's going to be really, really effective unit. Complement the witches beautifully, and if any valuable characters get blown out of their transports, these guys act as an effective meat shield wall to protect them and get them up the board, which doesn't take long. These guys also run really fast, 10 inches I believe. Finally, just the last touch is 2 Razor Wing jet fighters. Now yes, of course we could take Dizzy Barges, or whatever, can't remember the name of them because I don't use them, and they are way more effective. I'd have more shots and that kind of thing if I took the gun barge raider, so to speak. But these guys are witches. They are pilots who've originally jet bike racers who've made a lot of money and they bought themselves the ultimate racing machine, and so I'd rather stick with my theme and have a totally unique and totally, I'm trying to think of the word, but everything's a witch. It's fully themed, and so it's worth the sacrifice of the firepower in my eyes. And these guys also help me score engage on all fronts every turn without fail. And so that is the Drukhari list. So we'll get on with the battle. Okay, so I've got my Blood Angels dice, and we're ready to roll off for deployment and table edge.
Your channel, you should roll first and see if I can beat you.
So I've got a 2, not difficult. What will the Drukhari get?
Oh,
a 2.
We like to play with our prey.
It's a 5 for the Blood Angels, and it's a 6 for the Drukhari. The feint and jab. So the Drukhari will be deploying their first unit. We'll be going back and forth, and we'll be with you after deployment. After deployment, the Blood Angels have formed a sort of block of infantry ready to advance onto the central objective. It's very vital to stick together in the face of the fast moving Drukhari. They also have, I messed up my deployment a little bit and ran out of space, so these guys are on here, and the outriders are ready to move forward so I can take this objective. Remember, I need to secure the centre one for one of my secondaries. Over on the Drukhari side of things, very straightforward. We have a plane here, a squad of 9 bikes. We have the Warlord with 10 witches in, 2 squads of 5. We have the Warlord with a secondary witch. She's got the Pain Helm. She's got 10 Blood Brides in there. And then we have Drozar with 5 witches in a Venom. Over here on this flank, ready to move forward and take control of this terrain, we have 2 squads of 9 bikes, and finally a plane on the last flank. So, we're ready to roll off, Tim? Are you ready to roll off?
I am.
Let's just roll.
I was gestated from the Drukhari cloning vats ready.
6. So lordy. Lordy. Let's do this. Will it be blood? Oh, a 1. Trickery again. A 1 to a 5 twice in a row.
With the food.
The Drukhari go first. We'll be with you after Drukhari turn 1.
Right.
Started off by sweeping up the board. They've got Drozar's Venom, he's inside that, and the Clawed Fiends behind the line of sight blocking with the Beastmaster, ready to contest me on this objective. That's my secondary, so that's not ideal. The bikes took this bit of terrain next to this objective. He's got one guy underneath just in the corner holding that. He pulled these guys up a bit closer
fired off the shots, and then because he was definitely within charge range of the Blood Angels, he then pulled back. I haven't got much shooting, so he didn't need to worry about being in the open. He just didn't want to get charged by me. 5 witches hopped out, so Drozar's on his own in his pimp wagon, and they deployed a scrambler, getting that process started. And then these bikes swept forward here with 2 raiders full of tools, ready to take on the Outriders. The 2 planes just shot up, ready to, of course, get the easiest one for the Drukhari to score, engage in all fronts, and the Drukhari scored 3 points for that. They've had a very high-scoring turn, but less than ideal shooting phase then took place. So I actually ended up, he killed a bike without any problem whatsoever with these guys' Heat Lancers, no problem. Then he either missed or didn't wound with both of these boats. Then he shot with this guy. He got double 1 and a 2 to hit on the bikes again, and he managed to eventually do 2 wounds. And then this guy fired off, and I got a couple of 6-up saves protecting these guys, but he did finish one off with, I think, a missile, and that was lucky. I mean, I'm not sure, I'm maybe getting the what damage did what mixed up, but essentially he missed a hell of a lot, and he only actually generated 3 shots from his Shatter Shard missiles. So these bikes, I lost 2 in total, that was it. The Heat Lancers over here, these guys, they darted forward, they must have been too busy getting out of the way because they missed with all 3 of their Heat Lancers, just no hits whatsoever. And then this Dark Elder squad managed to kill off, was it 2 or 3? It was 2 intercessors, wasn't it? Just insta-kill 2 of them.
Yeah, you take from this nearest
Yeah,
squad,
so 2 assault intercessors in the corner of that bit of terrain were killed off. So all in all, 2 assault intercessors and 2 outriders for an entire Drukhari shooting phase. I think there's like 14, 15 Heat Lancers, Dark Lancers, Blasters, that kind of thing. But just couldn't hit.
I'm hoping. Anyway, so return to form on the battle reports, of course.
Tim does not get any rolling.
I've started doing some live dice rolling on my battle report so that people can see the genuinely legendarily bad dice rolls that I tend to have.
Indeed, certainly. But so yeah, all in all, I cannot tell you, like I've unclenched, one might say, because I was ready to just, I hate separating units off. These guys were exposed. I thought they're going to die for sure. But all in all, we're still standing, and it's Blood Angel's turn. Blood Angel's command phase. The chaplain decides to roll off the classic chaplain ability and give everyone around him, give himself a buff of 6-inch rerolls in combat. And then I basically spread out. So I moved 3 intercessors, Mephi, the chaplain, that's it, 3 intercessors, Mephi, chaplain, oh, and my captain into this region here, just in front of this building. Now the chaplain's obviously got the relic that gives rerolls to charges, so that meant I had plenty of charges. Now Mephi could not, even with 7-inch move, get away from the Helm of Spite that was on the character in the Raider there. So he moved as far as he could, then wings, ready to get a charge into this squad of bikes here. Once he was out of Helm of Spite range, he also did D3 extra attacks and charge range, and he gave himself an extra 2. So he didn't really need the charge range, but an extra 2 attacks against 9 bikes, always tasty. The captain, and then everyone basically just spammed off a few shots, and I think Mephi did 1 wound to the bikes with his plasma pistol, and a few grenades, a few heavy bolt pistols, a shot. I think there was 1 wound done to a bike, not very successful in the shooting. That's not what we're here for. I ran and advanced intercessors onto the central objective, and then deployed a scrambler. My back squad here deployed a scrambler, and then the eradicators and the other squad started opening fire. Now the eradicators went first, and they managed to quite handily blow up the raider that was holding that objective. Tim got all his men out, and I couldn't see with much, but I managed to get 10 shots off from here into the bikes, because I just couldn't see his witches. And I had 1 guy left over here, as we know, and actually moved these guys like 5 to 3 down, and depending on the model. And then so I was just out here aiming at the raider. Shot everything into the bikes. I think it killed off a bike or 2. 2 bikes. And then I essentially made ready to charge the raider here. Now the raider, in the combat phase, I charged here, got the raider down to 1 wound. So these guys are looking very heavily outmatched. I've got 1 outrider sergeant, and 5 intercessors, and we're contesting this objective against Tim's witches, so no one technically holds this objective, but I am going to get chewed up because those witches are actually blood brides, and there's a warlord there. I mean, these guys are not going to live through Tim's turn, I'm certain of that, but it does stop him scoring 15 in the first turn, which is always useful. And then over here, obviously the main combat started off with Mephi in case he got interrupted, and he killed 5 bikes in total.
And then 2 ran away.
Then the captain, I think, killed a couple. The assault intercessors killed a couple. The chaplain killed a couple. And then I used Honour the Chapter, because you can use that on assault intercessors, which is super tasty. And swing again with these guys. I actually totally messed up the wounds. I think I got just 2. I got like crazy hits, like 15 hits or something. But then I only got like 2 wounds. And finished off a bike, I think that was on 1 wound, something like that.
You killed 6 in total, but the chaplain actually fluffed it.
The chaplain fluffed it as well. So this combat here didn't go too smoothly. Mephi did more just on its own. But all in all, we're holding the central objective. We're holding this objective. We're holding our back objective.
I interrupted and you made 10 out of 14 warp saves.
Yes, you've said that very calmly.
It's alright.
So Mephiston, Tim interrupted.
The chaplain.
Against the chaplain, and I was like, do you want to spread your attacks? You can, these guys are wounded, so for a CP you can make them, -1 reroll ones to hit against them, but he decided to put everything against the chaplain, paladin against the chaplain. He got 14 wounds through in total out of 29 attacks or something like that, and then I made 10 4-ups.
Rerolled 1.
And then I rerolled 1 with the CP and made that as well, so I made 11 out of 14 saves, and so the chaplain's alive on 1 wound.
That would have been 3 victory points for me.
How so?
For my secondary take.
Of course, because every unit you kill, and every character is 3 points. It's like a free assassinate as long as you do it in melee.
Yep.
As many times as you like. It's not limited. Honestly, Tim's had a crap turn of shooting on his own side, and then my luck actually balanced out, but I did enough, if that makes sense, and it's it's not ideal. Mephi took 1 wound, he took 3 but got 2 feel no pains, of course. So all in all, a pretty good turn 1. It feels like it's further on than turn 1 with this many bikes dead. So we'll be with you after Drukhari turn. So a brutal turn for the Drukhari. The bikes cruel deception, 2 CP out so they could shoot and charge. They shot into Mephiston, failed to kill him. The plane then shot into Mephiston because he was just exposed and just over 3 inches away from the intercessors and finished him off. I think they did
10 wounds.
10 wounds to the
Sorry, I'm
Mephiston.
making vague hand gestures to Johnny. Not the rude kind.
What are you trying to... What's that? What's that, Skip? Mephiston's down the well. So then they basically, long story short, in the assault phase they killed the chaplain. These bikes jetted over to here, and one of the planes shot into the melter guys, but I used transhuman physiology and I only ended up losing 1.
Yeah.
And another squad of bikes, these bikes fired and faded, having shot into these guys, but doing no wounds with the heat lancers.
I hit very poorly and then did not wound. Which is the story of my history with these bikes.
The Dark Lance couldn't be fired on this raider because it had to pull out of combat. It's on 1 wound. But 5 witches got out and they placed another scrambler. So that's 2 down for Tim. He just needs 1 in my deployment zone now. And then these blood brides who had been sort of blown out of the raider, their own raider, came round. They, I think, killed off an intercessor, just a normal intercessor with a blast pistol.
And then absolutely tore the rest to shreds.
Just in close combat, just absolutely massacred. Didn't need the succubus. Brutal. Then in other combats, the Drozar just had disembarked like 15 inches or so and just charged the Smash Captain, just butchered him. And as I've mentioned earlier, the chaplain died, but these 2 managed to kill off another bike. The chaplain I interrupted with for 2 CP and just missed with everything.
No, you hit, you wounded, and I made every save.
Yeah, nice.
It all came back at that one moment.
So all my characters are now dead.
In combat.
And because they were all killed in close combat, 2 of them were. that was 6 points for Tim. And then, because that's one of his secondaries, and then because he killed 1 unit over here, and 2 units with the Blood Brides, that's 9 points he got for that secondary. So he's just mopping up the... Obviously, this army's designed to score 15 in that secondary, so doing really nicely. But I have got about 850 points worth of reinforcements to drop down now. Vanguard Veterans, Terminators, Death Company. So Tim has also in his movement pulled these guys back, didn't shoot with them, just pulled them out of combat, and he's just sort of moved the venom back and just spaced me out so I can get a unit in here in between all this, but otherwise I'm quite blocked in my half of the table. So he's deployed really well there, blocking me out from deep strike, but we'll see what we can do in Blood Angel's turn. Angel's turn 2 started off with these Vanguards dropping down and deploying a Scrambler ready. That's the 3rd Scrambler, so that's 10 points in the bag. That's done. My Termies came down here. They did Fury of the 1st. The guys on this, my central objective, just stayed where they are in cover, and I brought some Vanguard in to join them up the front. Then in terms of shooting, the Vanguard, we didn't have many choices because most things were in combat and I was locked in combat. I couldn't withdraw with the intercessors. So most shooting went towards these witches, and I cleared out a squad and left one over here. Failed its leadership, but 1 person survived. And then there is a succubus exposed here. I attempted to go for a charge. There was one witch left here out of 5. Attempted to go for a charge, failed it even with a double.
You got double 1, and then you got 7.
A double 1 and then 7, so just 1 off because it was an 9-inch charge. And then that was that. Over here, the Eradicators, in terms of their shooting, I shot at a plane with a couple of Vanguard, but just failed to do any wounds. The Eradicators failed everything, a couple of Vanguard failed everything. Then we charged in with the Vanguard onto the Beasts. We got a 12-inch charge, just absolutely rocked it.
We were ready for it.
And we just murdered the Beast, didn't even need the axes, just got rid of them. Just didn't have many deep strike options. Drozar's here, maybe he'll go in for the Vanguard, maybe he'll die, maybe he'll win glorious arena glory. So it's all to play for. The points, I'm not sure, I haven't been looking. Tim's been keeping a total of it. I think it's very close. Do you know what the totals are at the moment? Or
you have 10 primary, I have 5 primary, I have about 17 secondary, but you've just got up to 13 secondary.
Nice, okay, so it's very close, all to play for. Right, okay, so I'll be with you after Drukhari. Oh, one final thing was the Beastmaster. I had one intercessor left, and the Beastmaster hit him with his Agonizer and killed the sergeant off. He'd managed to kill a bike, but that was that. So I lost this objective, and he was OBSEC on that objective, holding on to it. So Tim's actually going to start with 15 points in this Drukhari turn 3.
Big deal.
But I've still got Death Company, 8 Death Company, tooled up, ready to come in. Okay, we'll see how it goes. So you could say things are getting a little spicy for the Blood Angels now. The final 5 witches disembarked from this raider, advanced, I think 15 inches out. Of course, they can still charge, so that won't be an issue for them. And the succubus that was over by this building, that was blasted out of a raider early on, came to help out. The bikes, as you can see, jetted over here and started shooting at the Terminators in here. The plane also shot into the Terminators, and after all the dust had settled, one was remaining. Tim also ran this succubus up and got just into my deployment zone and deployed his final Scrambler, so we both maxed the 10 points on that. Likewise, he also ran this Beastmaster, just advanced and went, I think, about 16 inches, 18 inches and 19 inches, something crazy. And so he's engaging on all fronts, on all quarters, so very nice. Drozar ran over here from having fought and butchered the captain, and the Warlord hopped out of this raider, both encroaching on the central objective. Drozar struck, they also shot a plane and like 4 heat lances into the Vanguard. I think he killed 4 in shooting, and then he killed another 4 in close combat. The final Vanguard actually killed Tim's Warlord, and then Drozar finished him off with the final round of attacks. So Tim also scored 15 points at the start of the turn, as we said, and I am only scoring 5 now. And one of mine is, I didn't know Tim would be so good. This is the power of the Drukhari and this witch list. It's just impossible for me to get into my own, or into Tim's deployment zone to get behind enemy lines or line breaker. So I'm really struggling on 1 secondary. I'm doing alright on my others, but really struggling on that one. So it's Blood Angel's turn 3 now. Still got Death Company to come in. Over here in the combat, I think I lost 1 to shooting, or a couple to shooting, and then a couple to combat, and I killed 1 witch in return because those 4 invans. So as you can see, although the Drukhari forces are damaged and scattered, they're absolutely running rings around the Blood Angels right now.
I did make one mistake, just to point out for new Drukhari players.
Yes.
Just because everyone thinks turn 1 and 2 power from pain is great, don't forget your turn 3 power from pain, because I did, because I should have been hitting on +1, and I didn't.
Oh, I did tell you that.
It's my own mistake. You got to wear these things, but it's just a...
I'm sure I told you about it.
mistakes for your new Drukhari players.
There we go. You butchered most things anyway. So we'll be with you after Blood Angel's turn 3. First things first, the Death Company deep struck down here, 9 inches away from the bikes and plane. But as you can see, they of course failed that even with a reroll 8 inches. Just got a 7 followed by a 7. They did manage to kill a bike with pistols. Drozar got melted. He took 7 wounds minus 1, 6 wounds, flattened him. From the melter, 1 melter got 3, 2 melters got 3, but yeah, failed one of his invans. And then this guy started running towards Drozar. It would have been a 10-inch charge through that door. Drozar obviously got melted, but he did shoot the witch that was engaging me on all fronts. One of these squads killed, just strafed down the Beastmaster. So again, reducing the amount of units Tim has to engage on all fronts, but it's just so hard. I know my Drukhari army well. And I mean, after the first turn, you're like, I think what you just really need is more racks and more raiders and da-da-da. And what are you thinking now about my witches?
I think they're really fast. I do think if you just took 6 raiders with 60 witches, this would have been a turn 2 game.
But the thing is, you just can't stop it scoring. Like, you're just going to max all your secondaries, I think, at this rate. The Blood Angel are doing absolutely fine, but the Drukhari are just racking the points up. So I scored 5 points at the start, scored some other points as we went. Obviously Drozar's dead. I think I've said anything because these guys failed the charge, so there wasn't much to say. That was it. One of these squads, I think, killed another bike off or something like that, because there was 4 originally.
No, there's 3.
Just 3?
Yeah.
One of these squads...
They made all the bullshit saves.
Oh, yeah. You just... Drukhari are doing alright. Okay, so Blood Angel struggling. Sorry, it's getting pretty late. We've been filming a lot of battle reports today, trying to wrap them all up now that we can. We've got a spare day where we're not working. So, long day of get filming. So we'll be with you after Drukhari turn 4.
Indeed.
Drukhari. Things first, the Drukhari bikes swept round here, moving in on my rear defences. Over here, these bikes jetted 18 inches across to here, and these bikes jetted across to here, or something like that. I'm losing track here. All the movement, all the bikes swirling around me.
You got it
good. Then I'd run one of my Vanguards out of combat so I didn't die because they would have struck first because he was charged originally, but this Hobag chased him down and stabbed him up with her glaive. Massed fire into the Death Company, killed off 6 of them, leaving just 2 with Thunderhammers. That's all we need. He says that, but I think Drukhari probably run away on points at this time because I haven't been able to score my line breaker, so I've just totally devoid of 1. And you've had 2 turns of scoring 15 primaries, and I've had 2 turns of scoring.
It was a slow start.
5.
With the old 5.
Yeah.
It was a 5 points in turn 2, and then it's somewhat
you smoked a couple of pipes of combat drugs and Hypex Ultra, and things really kicked up a notch. It's been a real struggle for the Blood Angels, really. I think what I'll do is, for glory, I will attempt to trying to take these guys out, take a couple of points on the objective. If I can hold that at the end of my turn, then that's 4 points.
Yeah.
If I can hold it for 2 turns, that's an additional 9 points.
Yeah,
so
if you can do it.
If I can do it, which is unlikely, but if I
you
can.
yeah.
Okay, so how are you feeling about the Drukhari right now?
They are bullshit. Honestly, it's after that turn 1, if that had been Guard, Scions, Genes to the Occult, that would have been it. I would have made a mistake on my positioning and I would have died. With Drukhari, it's like, I'll just fly around with AP minus 4 las cannons that are doing a minimum of 4 damage. Every single time I've got a Dark Light through shot on Johnny, he's instinctively picked the dice up and I've gone, he's dead, and he's gone, oh yeah, and put the dice down.
And every time I get onto this, every time I'm bringing my stuff down, you're just chewing through it before I can do anything. I'm getting a bit unlucky with failing, a couple of charges here and there, but yeah. The Blood Angels, this is my sort of old, it's not competitive enough, this list. I need an extra squad of 8 to 9 Vanguard and probably some more Eradicators. And I've got my Vanguard Veterans being built as we speak, so... we're going to be upping the Blood Angels to next level because these Drukhari witches, they're just so fast, the witch cult.
It's if you fail a charge, if you slip up for a second, the Drukhari all over you. They delete 60% of that assault unit because you failed that charge, and that will happen every turn. It has happened every turn.
And the witches, because they're Cursed Blade, they're Strength 4. You have +1 attack combat drug, so you have 5 attacks each, 3 base, +1 for the weapons, +1. It's like 26 attacks for a 5-man squad.
We're not even using Dark Technomancer Liquidator.
Nothing like that.
We're not using the Book of Rust. We are using Codex, and we are using the same cult we've always used
on the channel.
And it's just like it's just
ramped up a notch.
Yeah, it's it's getting a bit fruity down here.
Yeah. I'll probably just we'll probably pace it out and see what we get in terms of points now, and we'll be with you in a little minute. Okay, so we've wrapped up the game there. We did roll out the dice on a couple of things here and there, just because it's fun too, and that's what we're here to do. Now, the Drukhari didn't manage to actually shift me off this objective in the end, so I ended up scoring an additional 10 primaries, turn 4, turn 5. And what does that take me up to on primaries in total? 30, not too shabby.
You got 5 every turn apart from 1 turn when you got 10.
Yeah, so in fact quite shabby. Couldn't get those objectives, couldn't hold them. Then the Drukhari, I actually decided to take this objective instead of shifting Tim off this one, and I did take the centre objective, so I got another 4 points. But then the Drukhari, the Death Company were killed the next turn. But Tim had so many objectives, there was no point shifting him off an objective, and he maxed his primaries. And then essentially, he shot the Death Company up, so I'm left with 3 intercessors on the board. So obviously I've not got my fully competitive list built up yet, as we've mentioned, and that's going to be coming soon, hopefully. But the Drukhari in total scored 92 points. They missed 3, they didn't get quite 15 for Take Them Alive, they only got 12. Units killed in close combat, 2 characters, and I think it was...
Once I got 2 characters, like, ooh, that's 6 points.
And then just started killing other stuff in close combat. You got full engage, you got full for scramble, and you got full for primary. And then the Blood Angels got, considering the circumstances, I would say relatively respectable 57 points. 30 primaries, I got 10 for scramble, I got, I think, 1 + 2 + 4, 7 for secure, the middle, not quite 10, so not quite on par. And Linebreaker I just couldn't get at all. The Drukhari are just so rapid. They can just move wherever they want to screen you out, they can move wherever they want to score, and they can move wherever they want to dedicate the firepower that they need, and they can just swap units across the board for maximum efficiency, can't they?
Yeah, it was like, after that turn 1, I was like, that was a bit, that hurt a little bit. I'll just circle round and I'll come back again. And it was just horrendous. Like, that was my first game of Drukhari.
That was your first game of
Drukhari,
scored 92
points. I would say these armies are pretty equal. This is not the best Drukhari list, but that's not the best Blood Angels list. 92 points for my first game.
Yeah. You want a competitive. You got ruthless.
I've only played against Dark Elder 2-3 times.
Since 9th edition.
In 9th edition. So, when people say...
I mean, I was telling you what to do in certain things, making sure you didn't miss anything. But nonetheless, you know how to play stuff. You're an experienced 40k player. That's what it comes down to. Drukhari have such mobility. In an experienced 40k player's hands, They just pick up the points, and there's nothing you can really do. So yeah, I think that kind of says it all. 92 to 57. We'll leave it there. The Blood Angels will have to sort of get some reinforcements and come back, and we'll have to have a rematch. But thank you, Mordy and Glory, Tim, for coming over and filming this battle report. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you found this battle report entertaining and interesting and informative.
And at the end of the day, one of your armies won.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You
exactly.
won.
I won. One of my Drukhari are a sick army, which I'm very happy with. So this has been the Scholar Progenium. Thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.